And they would say things like, well, that sounds great, Wes, but, that's all the Bible. You can't trust that. And so that's where I started to take the...
Do Mormons say that to you?
Well, yes.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, in the sense that,
the Mormon one is the craziest one.
Yeah.
Because we know who wrote it.
Yeah.
And he's a shady dude.
He is a shady dude. Well, no, they did in the sense that the Book of Mormon trumps the Bible. So they would believe, I think it's the 10th article of the Mormon Church, is that they believe the Bible insofar as it is translated. And so they have this perspective that there's been things that have been affected. I mean, Joseph Smith made his own translation of the Bible, and it's rough.
And when he was 14. Yeah.
Well, I think it was later on that he made the Joseph Smith translation. But
really?
I don't even know if the official LDS Church ascribes to the Joseph Smith translation, because I think they even see this is, we know what the Greek and the Hebrew looks like, and this is not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was, legitimate con man. Yeah, which is fascinating. That people have such a deep search for meaning and truth that if you are confident, and which is what a con man is, confidence man. If you are really good at expressing yourself and really you show confidence in your convictions, you can persuade a lot of people.
Yeah, confidence is not competency.
Yes.
And unfortunately, those things get confused a lot.
Well, it covers up for competency sometimes.
Yeah. Talking about the Mormon Church, they recently did this thing where they're like, you don't need to go on the internet, and you don't need to. And it's
don't watch
guys,
the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, guys, I don't think you realize what you're sounding like when you come across in that way.
Mormons are the nicest cult members. They're the nicest people. They really are so nice. I love them. I mean, Mormons that I've met have been so friendly. They're so family-oriented.
It's true.
It's really easy to think these are great people. I'll join them.
We know why they're family-oriented, right?
Why?
Is because in what Joseph Smith wrote, there's an idea that everybody's soul pre-exists, and you were born as a spirit child in a previous life. And the reason you need to have children is you need to bring those people's souls into existence. And so there's because you have a heavenly father and a heavenly mother, and you're all children of God in the actual physical sense, and that the pursuit is exaltation, where you will be a god on your own planet if you've done everything right.
You get your own planet, which is pretty dope.
Your own planet. And this is so Joseph Smith in the King's Follett Funeral Discourse. This is what he wrote. This is where he formulated this idea where God, the Father, has a body as tangible as ours, of flesh and blood, and that he lived on another planet, and it was circled around the star called Kolob, and that if you do everything right, you will also be the God on your own planet. And so you got to encourage people to have kids, because you're pulling those spirit babies out of the spiritual realm. But you're right; they're incredibly nice people.
The nicest.
Yeah,
it's a really great cult. I mean, or religion, whatever. I mean, I used to have a joke in my act that a cult is fake and it's made by one guy. That guy invented it. In a religion, that guy's dead.
There might be something to that.
In this fascinating clip from JRE number 1284, Graham Hancock explores the mystery of the Olmec civilization.
I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth. It's considered to be the earliest high culture of Central America. Everybody's heard about the Aztecs. Everybody's heard about the Maya. But before the Aztecs and before the Maya, there were a culture who are referred to as the Olmecs. Again, we don't know what they called themselves. That's what the Aztecs called them. They called them the Olmecs, and it means the rubber people, because that rubber producing area of Mexico. They worked in giant megalithic constructions. What they're most famous for is these huge carved human heads, which can be on a scale of up to 20 to 25 tons in weight, and which have curious features which have been interpreted variously as Polynesian, African, don't look like classic Native American features.
Keep that up.
But one of the things I've realized is that there is no classic Native American feature. That Native Americans are have a very complex genetic story with very many different elements brought into it.
Joe goes on to ask Graham if he knows what the helmets are.
Nobody knows, because no physical example of such a helmet has ever been found, just like no physical example of an Egyptian pharaoh's crown has ever been found. All we see is the stone reproductions of them. There's another fascinating figure from La Venta, one of the Olmec sites, which is the earliest ever image of a plumed or feathered serpent. The feathered serpent is a famous icon. Sitting in the middle of it is this human figure who's holding this strange bag in his hand. And it's just a fact that those identical bags are found in ancient Sumer in the hands of individuals who were considered to be civilization bringers, and they also show up on Pillar 43 at Göbekli Tepe. I call them man bags. And in that case, at Göbekli Tepe, we know they're at least 11,600 years old.
Graham then tells Joe that other skulls have been found in Brazil with similar features to the Olmec heads, suggesting a broader pattern of diversity in ancient populations across the Americas.
It's been known by archaeologists for quite a long time that there are anomalous skulls in parts of Brazil, which appear to show very strongly Polynesian or African features, very much like the features that we see on the Olmec heads. And a number of archaeologists who got into trouble with their colleagues for this have used that to argue many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, that the settlement story of the Americas is much more complicated than we've realized.
Graham then tells Joe that there is genetic evidence indicating that Polynesians and Aboriginal peoples may have had a presence in the Amazon, which could potentially explain the distinctive facial features seen in the Olmec sculptures. He concludes by highlighting the cultural and symbolic links between the Olmecs and the later civilizations of the region.
But what's fascinating about them is they are supposedly the first high civilization of Central America, that they create structures on a massive scale, that you can see connections between them and the later Maya. That whole mystery of the Mayan calendar was clearly inherited from the Olmecs. It wasn't something the Maya made up. The Olmecs used that same symbolism. So the Mayan calendar is actually an Olmec calendar. And if we then consider the possibility that the Olmecs may just be the latest, the earliest surviving manifestation of that calendar, it could go back much further than that.